I never expected to see flashing red and blue lights dancing across my driveway the moment I came home. The air was heavy with confusion as police officers stood at the gate of my mansion, and right beside them was a woman I didn't recognize at first, hands on her hips, jaw tight, eyes sharp with entitlement. That was my first encounter with Karen. I had been away for 3 months overseas, finalizing a huge contract for my company. My mansion, quiet, secure, and meant to be my sanctuary, was the last place I thought I'd find chaos waiting for me. As I stepped out of the car, tired and longing for the comfort of my own bed, Karen's voice pierced the night. "There he is, officer. That's the man I've been telling you about. He's trespassing." I froze, baffled. Trespassing on my own property? One of the officers, clearly uncomfortable, turned to me. "Sir, this woman claims you're not the rightful resident here. We need proof of ownership." It felt surreal. I handed over my ID and deed documents, but my mind was racing. Who was this woman, and how could she possibly claim that I, the owner, was the intruder? That was the moment the truth began unraveling. 2 weeks earlier, Karen had apparently moved in. She introduced herself to the Homeowners Association as the new caretaker of my property, insisting that I had left her in charge while traveling. The HOA, desperate for someone to enforce their endless list of petty rules, welcomed her with open arms. She slid seamlessly into the role, barking orders, writing citations, and inserting herself into every neighbor's business. While I was thousands of miles away, Karen was living in my home, sleeping in my bed, and hosting her friends for late-night parties. She had changed the locks, redecorated the living room, and even posted on the neighborhood app about protecting the community from outsiders. And now here she was, bold enough to call the cops on me. The next few days were a whirlwind of frustration. Challenge 1 was proving ownership, not just to the police but to the HOA board, who shockingly believed Karen's story more than mine. They claimed I had been gone too long, and her responsibility to the community had been too valuable to simply dismiss. It felt like being a stranger in my own home. Challenge 2 was Karen herself. She wasn't just stubborn, she was manipulative. She weaved lies about how I abandoned the neighborhood, how I was never around to care for my property, and how she had rescued the mansion from falling into disrepair. Her entitlement was staggering, and her voice carried weight among a group of neighbors already frustrated with the HOA's strict rules. Challenge 3 hit deeper, my own sense of violation. Walking into my bedroom and seeing her perfume bottles on the dresser, her clothes in my closet, and her photos on the wall was like being robbed of my identity. My home, the one place I thought was safe, had been invaded, and I couldn't shake the anger or the heartbreak. But I refused to be defeated. I hired a lawyer, gathered documents, and installed security footage that proved she had broken in. I spoke to neighbors personally, one by one, showing them who I really was: the man who had hosted barbecues in that backyard, who had shoveled snow off the sidewalks for the elderly, who had donated generously to local causes. Slowly, their faith shifted back to me. The hardest part came when the police finally escorted Karen out. She didn't go quietly. She screamed, cursed, and called me a fraud, her voice echoing through the halls of the house I loved. For a moment, I almost felt pity, but then I looked around at the damage she had done. She had left scars not just on the walls, but on my heart. The resolution wasn't just about reclaiming my house. It was about reclaiming peace. The HOA issued a formal apology, though it felt hollow. Many neighbors came to me, embarrassed for having believed her lies. Some even admitted Karen had bullied them too, threatening fines or reporting them for tiny infractions. In a strange way, my battle exposed the cracks in the system, and the community began standing up for themselves against such tyranny. The most inspiring part came weeks later when an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, knocked on my door. She took my hand, tears in her eyes, and said, "If you hadn't fought back, she would destroyed this neighborhood. You reminded us that home isn't just walls and roofs, it's trust, kindness, and standing up for what's right." That night, sitting in my living room, I finally exhaled. The house was quiet again. My house. The ordeal had been exhausting, humiliating, and painful, but it carried a lesson I would never forget: never let anyone steal your voice, your dignity, or your peace. Home is not just where you live. It's who you are. And no one, no Karen, no HOA, no liar has the right to take that away. And as I closed my eyes, I whispered to myself the words I had been aching to say since the day I returned: "Welcome home."